We've got the little spinny circle and the red flag. That means we are live with another Money Move. So I'm happy. Labor Day. I can't believe it's September 5th. 2023 has flown by. So welcome back, Wendy.
Welcome. What's up? Yeah, Labor Day. Now the northern kids are going back to school.
The North kids.
The North kids. My sister lives in Jersey. Her kids are going back.
It's like
today.
Game of Thrones, right? The North, anyway. Good weekend. The weather's great. It's finally starting to not be three triple digits with 90 plus humidity. So I'm enjoying this time of year. Yeah. But that's not why we're talking today, talking about weather reports. We're actually talking about real estate. We had a gentleman by the name of Scott down in Huntsville, Alabama, reached out to us and asked us to do a show in regards to selling real estate. Should he wait? What's the old the gambler? No one to hold him, no one to fold him, no one to walk away. So we're going to be talking about that.
I was thinking, should I stay or should I go now?
There you go. That's right. So if you've got real estate and you're thinking about it or holding off or whatever because you're concerned about X, Y, or Z, we're going to be talking about that. So do us a favor, click that little subscribe button down below and that share button and reach out to your friends and let them know we're going to be talking about real estate here in just a few seconds. And we're back talking about real estate. I love real estate. I used to work in real estate. I used to invest in real estate, still do. And actually had a chance to work a little bit with Robert Kiyosaki and that team. And that was pretty fun stuff. But it's a crazy time for real estate, right?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, everybody was getting like hot dollar, year and a half ago?
Mm-hmm.
Top dollar for their real estate. And then interest rates went up. Everybody stopped.
Literally hit the brakes overnight. You had the California exodus, right? So you're right. All the prices were going up. And I know my house I'd originally sold. I did sell it, sold it this past July, but tried to list it at the end of last year, right as the rates started jumping up. Yeah. And it was like overnight, just everything stopped.
Yeah. And then, it's kind of like been going all right now.
Mm-hmm.
Will it stay
there? Yeah, it's definitely, it picked back up. And then, right around the time my house listed it on, Memorial Weekend, had 2 offers by the next Friday. It was a nice house, desirable area, that kind of thing. So it had some pluses on it as well. But over the last, through July, I guess that was in June, excuse me. So over July, August, everything started slowing. Rates have gone up again. They're talking about bringing them up again. Just read a report this morning that inflation rate is starting to creep back up. So what's the trigger on that? Raise the interest rates. So that's going to impact home buyers even more. So, I know you're seeing it. We were just talking about that earlier, right? About what's going on with house prices.
Yeah, I keep tabs, right? Because I do rent right now. Moved to a new area, didn't know the area and where I didn't want to plant my flag. And I'm glad because now that I'm here in school systems, I'm like, okay, now I know how I need to adjust. But so I keep an eye on home prices and Zillow, and I'm seeing everything reduced. So prices are getting cut, I think, a little bit.
So and that's exactly what's going on. I mean, it's all over, right? I mean, houses are still selling, don't get me wrong, but the inventory is starting to build back up. Mm-hmm. People are buying less and they're paying less, and homes are starting to sit on the market. And, the question I had this from a client the other day too. He's like, should I sell my house? They're getting ready to retire, downsize, right? And so he's considering selling, but he's like, I don't want to leave because I'm at a 2.25% fixed interest rate. that used to be the reality. So, and now, like I said, I sold my house. So that means I'm looking for a new house, and 7.25 is about what you're looking at. Sometimes 7.5 or 7, depending on where you're at in the market. But reality is, when I bought my very first house back in 2000, the 30-year fix for good credit back then, and you Gen Zs aren't going to believe this, it was 8%. That was like great, and it's been higher than that. I mean, my dad tells horror stories about when he bought his first house back in the 80s. I think it was at 17% is what he had, and that's good credit.
Yeah.
And you can go back on YouTube and watch some old videos and stuff like that as they were creeping up during the the 70s and early 80s. People still bought houses.
Yeah.
And people still sold houses, right? So
because we need houses.
Well, that's the point. I mean, the reality is you need a house. You need a place to stay, right? And you can think, well, I'll just go rent. You're going to pay just as much, if not more, renting, because the people you're renting from, guess what? They probably have a mortgage, or they know that they can raise the rents because of what else is going on. So you're going to pay more for that. And you're not getting any benefit out of it other than a roof over your head. Or in your kid's situation, I mean, I when I moved a few years ago, this is going back to 2006, moved to a new area, bought right away, and I regretted it within 2 months. I'm like, man, I wish I'd have known about this. So moving to a new area is perfect, rent for a year or two and kind of figure things out. But why would you want to sell now? Okay, because it's still a great time to sell in the right situation, right? Even knowing that, okay, I've got to give up that 2.5%, 3.5% mortgage, and I'm going to end up with a 7.5%, right? It's still not a bad time to sell. Number one, like you said, as we were talking earlier, if I buy, maybe I need to downsize or upsize,
right?
And so if you got too much house, that's a lot of upkeep, not to mention the pain in the butt. And then if you need to upsize, if you guys are crawling all over each other, like, a young family starting out, now we've got a kid, now we've got two, all of a sudden you're like, falling all over each other. So, I mean, that's one reason. Number two is your job forces you to relocate or something like that. I mean, it is what it is, but you brought up a great option. If you don't want to sell it, what do you do?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking, if you have a 2% interest rate on a place, but you want to move, I would look at renting that out and letting it pay for itself, build equity in it. I mean, if you have the capital, to be able to take out another mortgage, but which I know there's ways around that, creating it as a rental income and all of that. But I would hang on to that house, and because that's super low interest.
Yeah. I mean, it is. And that's one of the things, let somebody else pay for that investment for you, right? Now it becomes a rental property. There's some tax benefits there too. Talk to your tax advisor. But yeah, I mean, that's another option, is to, turn around and rent it out. Now, can you pull out the equity? Maybe. Before you list it, get a home equity line of credit, tap into it there. Let the tenants pay that back for you too, and use that money as a down payment on the next house. I mean, that's an option, right? Yeah. Or you can just cash out and take the equity and run, because here's the thing. I mean, we've already seen house prices soften.
Right.
I don't think they're going to get any better. I mean, like you said, looking at everything, you've missed the peak equity point. Let's just put it that way. Right now, I know there's some markets out there that may still be on the rise, but generally speaking, over the last 6 to 9 months, everything started to come down. So if you were thinking about selling and now you think you can get that price that, you saw your neighbor sell their house for last summer, you missed it. Okay. You're still at the train station and waving bye-bye. That's gone. It's not happening. So be realistic about it, but you're still at a good point. I think that's my opinion. But prices are definitely on the decline. If you don't believe me, simply go out to Zillow.com and look what's for sale, and you'll see house after house. It'll either be a new listing, which again, the listing inventory is going up, or you'll see price cut. Because the more listings that happen, guess what? That's more competition for you to sell your house. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, we were talking about this the other day too. I have a friend of mine who's a realtor, and she just made a post the other day, like, price your house to sell. If you're going to sell, don't price it on what you think it's worth to make you feel good, because the longer it's sitting on the market, the worse it goes for you. And there's a lot of people that still want that price they could have gotten 2 years ago, and they're pricing it that way, and it does nobody any good.
No. And you'll have some either typically not unscrupulous realtors, but you'll have newer realtors that are trying to get a listing. So they'll say, yeah, I can get you that price. And they're not doing the seller any service. And I literally ran into that. I found a house I loved, and hey, this is what I'm looking for. Looked at the comps, and they had already dropped the price considerably, a couple weeks prior. But the reason is because it sat there for a while and nobody was looking at it. Nobody was doing anything with it, and nothing was moving on it. I came in, they had an open house. I came in and I liked it. They had the open house, had quite a few people come through. No offers came out of that because they were asking too much. So I went on and did the comps, made what I thought was a fair offer. And we went back and forth a little bit, but they wouldn't budge. And it's like, that was last year, not this year. And so don't be caught in that situation is what I'm saying. I mean, if you do want to sell, if you do want to, you got a couple of options. If it's a relo or whatever, you can't afford to keep it as a rental or think it's going to be a pain in the butt, get a rental company or a rental property management company. That way you don't have to worry about it. But you can still keep that asset, and it's going to have some deferred maintenance. So set that aside with the money you get in, right? Pay a property management company so you don't have to deal with the headache and kind of set it and forget it. But that's a great opportunity for you. And then you can go on to your next house. Mm-hmm. Either have some cash on hand or put a smaller down payment, see if you can qualify for, an FHA, or if you're a veteran, a VA, thank you for your service. But there's a lot of different things you can do. But the question of, I don't want to sell because I'm afraid I'm going to be paying too much. You are going to pay more now. Yeah. But one or two things are going to happen to interest rates. And you mentioned that earlier. And what are they down the road? One or two things. They're going
to go up or go down.
They're going to go up or go down. That's it. Right?
They go up, then good thing you did what you did. They go down, refinance.
Yeah, that's the new world we live in, guys. It's the new reality. So the fact that, I'm going to wait till they go back down to 2.5% and then I'll buy, that's a fool's bet. Why? Because, number one, the house you want may not be there. Okay. Number two, they may go up. I was in mortgage banking for a number of years, like almost 2 decades. I would have never in a million years guessed that interest rates would be below 4%, much less below 3%. Yeah. Ever. That was a once in a lifetime deal. It may go back. I could be wrong, and I hope I am. I don't think I am. Okay. I think they'll soften a little bit, but I don't think what we'll see. But like you said, if you buy a house now and you're at 7, 7.25, 7.5, whatever, and the rates go back down to 5, what are you going to do?
Refinance.
You're going to refinance, get the lower rate, right? So keep that in mind if they're talking about, points to buy down the rate, because if you can't make up the money and you refinance, you just spent that money for no reason. Or like you said, if the rates go up, you made the smart move because you got it at 7, and now you're bragging all your friends that are trying to buy at 9, right? I got a 7%, right? And so, it kind of is what it's all relative. That's what I'm trying to say. It's all relative. So if you're sitting on the fence or you're thinking, I'm going to wait until the rates go back down, I hope you enjoy renting because I think it's going to be a hot minute. Like I said, I just read an article yesterday, and you guys can Google this, check me, but they're talking about inflation is creeping back up. What are they going to do? They're going to raise rates to kind of combat that. They want to get the interest rate or the inflation rate back down around 2%, which is kind of what it is. And you and I both know we've got an election year, which means the circus is about to start. Mm-hmm. So not a whole lot's going to be happening during that period until what's happening on the other side. And who knows what's going to happen. It's either going to get a hell of a lot better or not. So one or two things are going to happen, right? And I'm just going to leave that there. But so if you're selling a house, is it the right time, or should you sell a house? Yeah, maybe, given your situation. But you got to kind of look at everything. And who do you call when you need to talk about financial stuff? Call a financial coach, right? Kind of use them as a sounding board. That's what we do with our clients, is kind of walk them through the different options and scenarios like this. But if you're thinking about cashing out just to cash out, probably not a bad time. You want to cash out on the equity, because I think there's going to be some deals on houses here in the next couple of years, especially if the economy doesn't turn around. More and more layoffs are going to happen. I mean, layoffs are still happening. Why they're not in the news, I don't know. I do know, but I'm not going to talk about it. But a lot of layoffs are happening. And what happens when the layoffs? People are buying less. People can't pay their bills. Foreclosures are on the rise, and then opportunity happens for those of you that are sitting on cash. So, if you're looking at maybe multiply your assets, if you will, it might not be a bad time to sell it, take the equity, sit on it, and then turn around and buy two here in the next year or two. Because I don't think prices on houses are going to go up like they were. I mean, last couple of years they've been jumping like 10, 20%, 30% just in 2 or 3 years. So that's kind of unprecedented, but it's because of the exodus that's happened. So everybody that's moved is kind of moved. Those that are sitting on the fence are now kind of waiting to see if rates come back down. So that's kind of slowed down quite a bit too. So that's all I got, man. So Scott, Huntsville, Alabama, thank you for your idea. And if you've got an idea on a show you'd like us to do to talk about it, reach out to us. Money with Wendy or johncleaver.com. You can connect with us there. Just post it down below. Leave us a comment on what you'd like to hear about. We read those. And we'll do a show for you and mention you as well. So everybody, thank you again. Show some love, subscribe, and share our stuff on your social media. We're just trying to get the word out on how people can make money moves with their own personal finances. So we'll see you next Tuesday. We're here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central, and you make it a great week.